Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real World News, where you have myself, Derek, we have Reggie, Shara, and Tony. Hi, everybody.
Hey, good evening.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
what's up? So,
The
man,
the enthusiasm
in
is riveting.
picking this particular topic dealing with whistleblowers, I was just taken with all the different topics that have come across since I came up with the topic Sunday. So what I'm gonna try to do a little bit differently is yes, we'll talk about whistleblowers, but I want to talk about basically what's hot in the news, and we can kind of take it around the four corners, or you can let me pick it, or let the audience just come up with a question or a topic. But with that, tonight's show, we're talking about whistleblowers, and unfortunately, because of what we're dealing with now and the current administration, we have a whistleblower that has allegedly, um, I guess, accused the POTUS of some possible legal acts. I don't know what's in the whistleblower report, so I can't really comment on it in detail. But what I will say, we're talking about really, it's a necessary evil or is an unnecessary good. And what I mean
Yes.
by necessary evil is that whistleblower protections are put in place so we can weed out possible corruption, fraud, illegal acts, whether it's sexual harassment, money, embezzling money, whatever it may be. And you want people within your organization, regardless if it's federal or private, to bring these things to light, but also being able to have the protections to do it. Because actuality, if they don't have the protections, you're not going to have people that are willing to give up their job or possibly their life for acknowledging we have to say alleged wrong. So, and when we talk about, and that's a necessary evil. When we talk about a unnecessary good, let's say, for instance, you have a company, it's flourishing, and you have a bad apple. Now, I'm not saying that a person should ignore the whistleblower complaint, but they may choose to keep it strictly in-house and not publicize it. Because when you talk about companies that are driven by the stock market, whistleblower complaints, could lower their stock. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what I'm saying is that some people will view it as a unnecessary good, to where yes, they may take the whistleblower's complaint seriously, but they're not going to, I guess, put it out there like the necessary evil, because mainly because of money. It could be jobs, because jobs could be lost, because when a company or organization stock starts to fall, in some cases they may have to lay off people. So that's kind of what we're getting into in probably the first half of the show, and in the second half we'll kind of see where we go from there. So with that, anyone have I guess, an intro of how they feel about whistleblowers or whistleblowing, whatever you want to call it?
I am fit to be tied. I went off with Tony just before the show, and there's just no pleasant way to say this. So I'm just going to say enough already. Whistleblowers, their checks and balances put in place for a reason, to prevent us from getting a fascist despot, to prevent us from having people that are in elected office representing the nation, representing people, the citizens that they're supposed to protect, and doing fraudulent things. And every single thing this man does literally shits on our Constitution, shits on the checks and balances. The man opened his mouth, insert both feet, and admitted globally what he did. There's no question about what he did. There's no question that what he did was inappropriate. I'm going to I'm not going to say whether it was illegal or not. I'll leave that to the professionals, but it was clearly an impeachable offense. It was clearly enough of an action to warrant an investigation. And basically the House meeting is equivalent to a grand jury meeting. And for this man to sit there and say that he and his administration aren't going to participate in this constitutional process, who the hell does he think he is? Just like the other individuals that refused to respond to subpoenas by Congress. And we keep sitting back and allowing this shit to happen. I am peace, love, and granola. I try to be zen, but this man, I've got less than a quarter inch of straw above the waterline. I am sick of it. There's a part of me that's ready for us to storm the castle and drag him out and his ilk out by the hair. They are destroying democracy in this country. And all the people that are supporting him and saying, but this, but that, I don't say anything wrong. What are you talking about? It's like they're basically saying they want a fascist. It's like they're saying they don't want democracy. They don't want our Constitution. The things that we say we're so proud about as Americans. I am fit to be tied, apoplectic. I'm done. End scene. I'm just done. I'm just done.
Okay, Reggie.
I have nothing to say. She done said it all.
Show's over.
Yeah, show's over. Good night, everyone.
Credits.
But what I think primarily what I'm looking for, and everyone has their opinion, is when we talk about whistleblowers in general, the practice of whistleblowers is it a necessary evil? Is it an unnecessary good?
Why is it evil?
It's not evil.
It's not evil.
No. When I mean unnecessary evil, no. What I mean by necessary evil is that you are exposing the evil because it is necessary. It's necessary. An unnecessary good means that by being a whistleblower, is it always necessary if people are going to lose their jobs because of stock market dropping or people getting fired, which means they got to fire other people? That I don't know. Is what I'm not saying is good or bad. What I'm saying is you can make a case for both points, because I've seen it, say, for instance, in the military, where there was an unnecessary good, meaning that, yes, the whistleblower exposed what was going on, but it wasn't publicized. And it wasn't publicized because of what was going on in that particular area. They didn't want to add any more fuel to the fire.
There's a big difference.
The whistleblower was protected. It wasn't national security, anything like that. But when we talk about a necessary evil, we're saying you are exposing an evil that is, necessary evil, meaning that it is necessary to expose what is going on. If people are being fraudulent, breaking the law, in both cases, you are exposing. But I guess what we talk about is, do we want to expose the whistleblower? Do we want to acknowledge that there's a whistleblower? It's more or less what I'm looking at. Not necessarily who the whistleblower is, because they should be protected. No one should know who a whistleblower is. But do we want to acknowledge that, yes, whatever happened at that organization was the result of a whistleblower?
Well, why
That's
not?
more
Why not? When there's only one person that might come forward to say that there is something negligent going on, whether it's in the under the laws of the federal government, whether it's private sector, why not? Because more than likely, if you have one person who has decided to blow the whistle, then more than likely you've got two or three, or even 4 or 5, or whoever. They're just not comfortable with coming forward. So why not?
There's a big difference between the corporate sector, the business world, and government, number one.
Mm-hmm. True.
Number two, this man outed himself at this point. So the whistleblower is almost not relevant anymore, outside of the fact that they made statements about him and his administration, or his little cronies, working to bury the tape of the phone call, potentially more phone calls that were had, for the sole purpose of hiding it from the public, from hiding it and burying it to make it difficult if anybody wanted to submit a FOIL request to get this information. So that suggests if they were looking for ways to hide this, that they knew something was wrong. It wasn't they accidentally misfiled it someplace. They made a conscious decision and a discussion to bury it somewhere else. So if the whistleblower hadn't spoken, We might not know about this outside of the fact that Trump loves to toot his own little wee horn, and he would have outed himself eventually. In terms of stock markets and having a negative impact on the economy, this man is already doing that in spades. So I think that there is if we continue to draw similarities between the public sector and the private sector, between civil government, federal government, and the private sector, I think we lose something here. We have a constitution that we're supposed to follow, that he took an oath to follow, that the people working under him took an oath to follow, and they're not doing it. So he ran on the platform of being a businessman who's highly successful. We know that's not true. He's running this into the ground just like he did his businesses. So I'm hesitant to make any correlation between business or military. And the other thing in terms of business, when you have somebody who outs somebody for doing something wrong, say you witness sexual harassment or you witness embezzlement, you discuss it with the small group of people that need to know about that so they can do an investigation. In this case, that would be the House. But he's already made this public knowledge by outing himself in the news. So we already know about it. There's nothing, And the second thing is, if he has nothing to hide, go through the process. The complaints about the amount of money that this is going to take to run its course, it's going to cost more money the longer he and his people obfuscate the process and refuse to participate. It all smacks of their knowledge that they've done something wrong. You're not ruining somebody's reputation because he already outed himself.
But see, my thing is, I'm looking more primarily at the whistleblower, the act itself. Because what happens, and I have to draw the correlation only because if you have whistleblowers that expose something in the private sector, whether they're alleged or whether it's true or not, they unfortunately face retaliation. They can face issues where they can make it very difficult for them to be at work.
And there are laws to protect them for that.
There's laws to protect, but think about it. Within an organization, and it all depends on how big it is. Remember, if you have a small organization, it's a matter of time that somebody finds out who the whistleblower is. I don't know who the whistleblower is, and I don't want to know who the whistleblower is because, in my mind, whistleblowers, if they're actually, to some cases, putting their livelihood on the line to expose an alleged act. And most whistleblowers are not going to come forward if they don't have any concrete evidence. Because, in order for whether it's HR or IG or IA, whatever, to take someone seriously, they're going to have some sort of credible evidence. So I'm not disputing the fact that they are acknowledging what someone did. The thing is whether or not, how do you expose it or share it within the general public? And that's where the dilemma is sometimes when you talk about necessary evil or unnecessary good. Because everyone, we may say, fine, everybody needs to know. Because you have people, I wouldn't say that much on the left, that's, what, we should try to handle this through the process. And then you have, of course, those on the right that said, freak the process if it shouldn't be done at all. But, the same case we made when Clinton went through whatever he went through for basically lying and extramarital affair. That we really, as a nation, need to be exposed to it.
Well, they wanted him exposed. Yeah. That wasn't about that.
That's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about a necessary evil, unnecessary good, I don't really think that when I look at how the Republicans had put forth that show, was it something really that was worth all that attention? That's something that's on Hillary's side, within in the House.
It's riling up their base. So of course, just my opinion. No, I hear you, but they're riling up their base.
It was nothing of national security.
No, I could care less who did what.
Of domestic security.
Yeah,
it was something that, in my opinion, should have been handled between Hillary and the family. That's just my opinion.
Precisely. But they did that for a reason. They wanted to discredit him. They wanted him to leave office in shame. They did that for a reason. It had nothing to do with national security, as you said. And then with these folks who are posting comments about secondhand knowledge, firsthand knowledge, I'm sorry. Was Linda Tripp literally under the desk while Monica was doing her thing? I don't think so. I mean, the hypocrisy is just astounding. But Reggie, what is your opinion? Because we've been talking a lot.
I thought his phone was broken.
Like I said, I'm just listening.
We can't listen tonight.
When you look at the situation as being a whistleblower, it's both. It's necessary, and it can be. It's necessary for the good of the company or the country. It's a necessary evil. It has to be done, regardless of what the outcome is going to be. The person, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that person is going to be criticized. The person is putting a lot on the line, and you got to respect whatever that person decides to do. The biggest thing is, in my thinking of it, is the person has to have some concrete evidence that something happened, something took place. Okay, you can't go on secondhand information. That's the one thing that's hurting this whole situation for the Democrats right now, because the whistleblower has admitted he heard this from a third party. Okay, he wasn't privy to it. Okay,
Second party.
but then, well, you know, the first party was a knucklehead who did it. The second party is the people who heard it. The third party is the person who got the information from the second party. But the whole situation, what has happened with the whole situation, it's been the first party has put a spin on the whole thing. Okay, and spend it for its base. Okay, so we're not getting the full effect, and then they're telling their people not to talk about nothing that happened in the White House. In a private company, you know, I think it's good, because if it's going to hurt the stock or maybe run the company out of business, it's a good practice. Now, most of the time in a private company or a corporation, the information is going to be kept in-house, and it's going to be kept as private as possible.
Of course.
But leaks happen, and that person is going to be outed too. Okay, so when you become a whistleblower, even though the laws are the same for the federal and the private sector, when you become a whistleblower, you're taking on a lot of responsibility, and you're doing something and carrying out something that you really believe in your heart needs to be addressed. And I think whether or not it's in politics or on the corporate side, that person needs to be taken seriously, and an investigation needs to take place. That's just the bottom line.
I agree.
And Trump threatened him or her.
I just clear up what you said, Reggie. Now, although it was secondhand, that secondhand information matched every account of the summary of the transcript. So it wasn't like that information was made up. That somebody internally was there and witnessed it, and thus shared that information with the whistleblower, which means that there's other people within that circle that know who went on. And I don't know who that is. I won't be, I guess maybe down the road we'd be privy to that, but right now we're not. So when we talk about whistleblowers, I think some people will kind of relate that to snitch, because I've heard it in social media. Snitches get stitches, whatever. And I'm thinking, let's look at it from just basically common sense. If you broke into my house and somebody witnessed it, you would want that person to tell you, right? Everybody want that person to tell you, right? Now, if that person's life was on the line,
you're talking about something different.
Yeah, we're talking about something different.
Although Trump has basically threatened this individual.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was kind of getting to, because what happened is, and I don't know, and I always tell people, although I'm retired military, I'm kind of choicey with my words when I talk about the POTUS, but what I will say is that any POTUS should not be using words or even trying to do anything to intimidate a witness. The whistleblower protection laws are put in place to protect United States citizens who see or hear corruption or fraud or any illegal acts. So what you're trying to do is discredit the whistleblower. You don't know whether or not they were Democrat, Republican, whatever, but you're trying to discredit. It's almost like what people try to do with, with our black men.
Mhm.
We a witness, and all of a sudden they want to research everything.
Mhm.
Well, back in this day, he was in jail, and I said, what's that got to do with me being a witness?
Yeah.
They want to basically discredit you as a person, attack your character, versus looking at the actual claim and the facts of the case.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we run into with, this particular whistleblower, whether it's a male or female, I really don't know. But it takes a lot of courage for anyone.
Especially in this administration.
Especially, yeah, but see,
you're doing at the highest office in the land.
that's what I was going to say. You got people that are now coming forward with information that they think would be detrimental to the United States, to the American people. When you're talking about crossing the line about security issues, crossing the line of having dealings with other countries, and giving secrets or bribing them, or quick pro quo.
Well,
You're talking about someone in that capacity. And don't you think someone in that capacity who has that kind of access to be able to witness what is being said, to be able to decipher whether or not it is something dangerous for this company, do you think that we really should be looking at the fact that is he credible? Hell, we've got a president that is not credible. He's telling you what he's doing. He's telling you what he's doing to destroy basically the country. And we have the nerve to now question a whistleblower when
this man's a hero, or this woman. They're the
exactly
single
because it takes
person
a
in that
lot
White
to
House.
come forward. We know how corrupt this administration is.
Mhm.
We know exactly who they are, what they're capable of. So with all of that being said, it takes a lot for someone to come forward to put someone out there, especially someone as corrupt as this sitting president, knowing that they could come up dead. We just watched, news reports about Epstein. He was healthy. All the stuff was coming out about, who was involved in his dealings. And all of a sudden he ends up dead. How many of the people that are coming up dead that we don't hear about?
And I think one of the things that I take away from the whistleblower, and I and it may be a bad comparison, but I think it's, to me, an accurate comparison. When you have someone who is acknowledging an alleged crime or whatever it may be, then you have to take them seriously.
Yeah.
So it's amazing when I look at, rape victims, and all of a sudden that rape victim is sliced for acknowledging she was raped, rather than and then when the truth eventually comes out. But my thing is that you already attacked her. Now, I'm not saying that the victim is right or wrong. What I'm saying is, don't attack the person's character when they haven't had their day in court. So no one attacked the POTUS's character. What they said is, this is what allegedly happened. Now, if he is and I'm not saying that Clinton is the model to follow, but when Clinton was going through whatever he's going through, we didn't have social media back then neither, but I can't imagine Clinton getting on Twitter and all of a sudden start attacking the people that charged him with all this. I can't imagine him going back and forth.
The character is different.
Yeah, and I think what also is amazing is when the Democrats went after, and they didn't do it for political reasons, but they're saying, okay, the POTUS did X, Y, and Z. So he was attacked, he started to respond on Twitter. When the Republicans said the same thing, Romney being one, he was attacked for different reasons, but there's a lot of Republicans now who've came out and said that it was wrong. And he has not attacked or addressed any of those Republicans that said it was wrong. Now, those Republicans say it's wrong, but they don't feel it's an impeachable offense for some of them. until all the facts come about. So that's a whole different story in
There is
itself.
no facts. Hell, he went on live camera TV.
No, I'm telling
But
you what
there's
they
more
said.
to it than that,
They
though,
said.
Tony. There's more
What
to it than
they
that.
said. Yeah.
The whistleblowers report went on to describe how the transcript was buried and how other calls, the transcripts were buried. So there's more to it than this.
It's a whole
And
lot.
we're not going to get the facts until we have the meeting with the House, the equivalent of a grand jury hearing where they collect the facts. But he is pointedly saying that he is not going to participate in this process or let his people participate in the process. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he was making calls and threatening people and saying, don't participate in this or I'll fire you or whatever he
I
can
can see that. I can see that.
We do know that if the impeachment inquiry, if the articles of impeachment are drawn up, then he will have to testify.
Ooh.
No ifs, ands. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Because if he chooses not to,
that just makes me happy.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
But the American people deserve. I'm like this. I'm a firm believer. If I didn't do it, then I'm going to say it. So the merit to
He's
me
already
as
said
much.
It, though. He's
No,
feel like
he didn't say this.
answer.
No, not for that. That's no article, and not until the articles of impeachment are drawn up. That's different. He's saying, look, there's no official articles of impeachment drawn up, so technically, I don't need to give you anything until
that happens.
It's drawn up, which is partially wrong. Some parts of it he has to, some parts of it he doesn't have to. But it's neither here or there. What I'm saying is that if the Democrats are going to do it, they need to do it. And then that way we deserve that much as American people to hear our POTUS and share your story. But I believe what Charles said. I don't think that he's going to do it.
No, we watched him allow other people deny subpoenas and not participate in the process.
Not for this is different. What I think Clinton, he had to go. He had no choice.
Yeah, but Clinton was a different character, different personality, a man of a different sort of integrity.
Nixon
had the grace to bow out
because he knew there was enough evidence that he would get impeached on both sides.
He would
never. He was going to get impeached on both sides. So he's like, why even put myself through it?
Yeah, no, Trump doesn't have enough self-awareness to do that. His sense of entitlement is so overdeveloped. And with the shit that we've allowed him to get away with for the last 2.5 years, of course he thinks he's invincible. So and truth be told, what are the ramifications, legally speaking? If he says, I'm not going to participate, will they arrest him? Not likely. Will they drag him out of that White House? Not likely.
It will put the Senate in a bad position because what they're saying is that one person, is above the law, and they'll have to answer for it.
But he's been doing that for 2 years.
The only way you can answer for it is in the polls.
Monetizing the presidency, keeping his financial investments in all of his businesses, even though he supposedly signed it over to his son. He's been doing this all along. This isn't new.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when you got we control one side, Democrats control one side, the Republicans hold the other side. Now, we'd had both sides, it'd be a done deal. And it'd be a done deal. So the only alternative is if he chooses not to show up for the House side of the impeachment, if the articles of impeachment are presented, then the Republicans are going to have to make they're going to make a choice. Are you saying it's okay for a POTUS not to testify in front of Congress to the American people? And imagine the State of the Union be coming up. Do you really think that Nancy Pelosi is going to have them come to the State of the Union? I wouldn't.
Look, this whole administration is a comedy of errors. This whole administration has served as an example of a first-time instance for a number of things, and he has gotten away with so much nonsense. I frankly don't have faith in the system anymore. If the federal court doesn't have any authority to enforce its will, if the Congress is split, there should be something written in the law or into the Constitution that says you must comply, otherwise guilt is a foregone conclusion and you're out. Because He has shown every step of the way. The man is a coward at his heart. He does not have the courage of his convictions. He'll stand in front of a podium and spout all his lies and his nonsense to rev up his base. But at the end of the day, he does not have the backbone necessary to stand before Congress and stand for the people who technically do have some sense of authority over this process and hold himself accountable. He doesn't have that. He's spineless. And marry that with a sense of entitlement, he gets away with everything. All I can say, though, is if this does go before Congress, if he does have to testify, I'm going to have a bucket of popcorn and a bucket of Valium. And it's going to be a combination of the two of them for the rest of the night and a bottle of vodka.
I'll go with the vodka. I can't do Valium.
Any last words before we switch to some other topics?
Sure. No, go ahead.
Reggie? All right. So I'm just gonna bring up a topic and you just say it. So this is what's on my mind.
Oh boy.
And I can't remember the name. So I can't remember the name, so forgive me. But the judge that hugged the murderer.
How did I know you were gonna bring that one up?
I just want to. What is y'all general feeling on it? You know, me personally, I think it was inappropriate because to me, it's inappropriate for that case because a judge is supposed to be neutral, and
it's inappropriate for any case for a judge to come off the bench. I mean, Reggie, you're a judge. Would you come off the bench and give someone a hug?
According to how she looked. No. But seriously, no. It wasn't a good look, okay? It definitely wasn't a good look because you had to remain neutral. You had to have a certain amount of partiality. You know, where's the hug at for the mother? Nobody went and hugged the mother. You know, and so it was very wrong. When you look at the number of black men who've been killed by white officers throughout this country, and you give one a pass, a quote unquote pass, it wasn't a good look, okay?
And that's what I think is, and I'm glad you're saying that because I think that's where you find more of the African American community up in arms, because not just that it was not a good look, but it says, oh well, here's another black man who has been killed, who has lost his life at the hands of someone who is of Caucasian descent, and here we are again forgiving. Now we're showing another piece of forgiveness to say, oh, okay, all is well. We'll just wait on the next black man or black woman to be shot down, or whatever the case may be, death at the hands of another white person. I think that's what the issue is that we're looked at as being too forgiving in these instances.
And I remember this all started with the young man, I guess 18 or 19, where the judge allowed, him to get out the seat. Now, for the record, the judge did hug the family, the victim's family. So that just wasn't photographed for whatever reason. But what actually was photographed, just the pictures that people put up were just those ones. So, but he hugged everyone. And so,
yeah,
Char, you're before I jump.
I'm torn
tonight.
Sorry, you got me twisted. I'm just done. I'm torn, because there's a part of me separating everything from the history of relationships between these two groups, separating all the facts of this case for a moment. Forgiveness is a good thing. It's a divine thing. I get it. I can almost understand why the man did it, and I think he did it for himself, not so much for her. But unfortunately, history is an albatross around our neck, and history is current, it's present, it's now. It's not just what happened 50 or 60 years ago. So as you all have said, our men being shot in the streets repeatedly, our women being abused repeatedly, our children being put in handcuffs in schools. It's hard to live in the reality and have the valid emotional response that we have to all of this and find a balance between that and wanting to be, I guess, what some people would call spiritually evolved. It's not that the two are mutually exclusive. I can understand where the young man was coming from, because grief and resentment and anger are weights around our necks that we carry with us daily. And if he needed to forgive her in order to get on with his life, in order to move forward, I can respect his choice to do that. And it's unfortunate that that was televised, because it's become a, I think just like the discussion between Clinton and Hillary is between them and what he did with Monica, I think the act of forgiveness, unless he wanted to make it publicized, should have been contained between him and his family and her. That should not have been publicized. I don't think that it being fodder for public consumption helps move our discussion forward. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I can understand deeply why people are upset about it. So I'm very torn. There's a greater part of me that it's just like the hair on my arm is standing on end just thinking about it. There's a larger part of me that thinks it was inappropriate. The whole notion of blank tears, and what bothered me more than his hug was the court officer combing her hair in the court. That bothered me more than the hug, because the hug was coming from a spiritual place, and I give him that, and that's between him and his God and his family.
Yeah, what was coming from that officer of the court?
That to me made no kind of sense whatsoever.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not going to comment.
I won't be offended. Go right ahead.
I better not. I really should. I better not.
That we disagreed with it, so that's unison. All right, the next one.
Derek,
and I don't know why.
Why are your hands in the camera?
Because my screen, it keeps doing something. You can't see it, but it keeps doing something. So I have to keep. I don't know if it's the bulb. Well, my camera's about to blink out of work.
You're fine.
But, no, on my end, you don't see it on my end. So the other thing, and I don't know why they're giving Ellen the blues, but Ellen sat with former President Bush at my Dallas Cowboys game that I'm going to talk about, and people were upset. I don't know, because she's a Democrat, but my thing is, why are people upset when you have Democratic Republican friends? Reggie, you and I have Republican and Democratic friends, right?
No, I don't have no Republican friends. I got rid of them.
No, I do. I got Republican friends that I hang out with, but just because they're Republican, I'm not supposed to hang out with them. It's almost like saying if it's white or black. If you straight Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey 100% of the time, and all of a sudden they see you with a white person, all of a sudden, oh my God, they're gonna start Facebooking you and slashing you. I just don't get it. I don't understand what the issue, the big issue is.
I think most of the issue was based on his politics while he was in office. I mean, that's what they basically said. When you hear her talk about it, she had people from the gay community, getting on her because of the fact he was a strong supporter of gay rights and stuff, So that's what they equated with the whole thing with, if you are activists in one particular arena, why are you going to support somebody or be friends with someone who doesn't support your beliefs? I don't think we even need to go there. Your friends are your friends. Whoever you want to be your friend is your friend. You don't have to have the same ideological, ideas as your friend. You can learn to be together, to disagree or to agree. So I think it's basically your pick on who your friends are.
Look, I think that there's this tendency to be polarized into our tribal groups. Look at the example that Daryl Davis gives us, and that's just one example. If we don't ever cross the divide, if we don't ever engage in dialogue, if we don't ever expose the other to each other, things will never change. So he was in office, he's not anymore. Did he do a great job for the LGBT community? Not necessarily. could she potentially work on slowly changing this man's mind through exposure and conversation, much like Daryl Davis did with dozens of KKK members? Then I think that that's a good thing. And people need to get out of their corners and allow that to happen. She's not kissing his ass. She's not changing her coat and saying, I now agree with him, like some of these LGBT members that are supporters of Trump and his administration, which literally makes about as much sense to me as a Republican Haitian. But, you know, we just need to get out of our polarized groups and communicate with each other, much like you have your Republican friends. Without that dialogue, we don't control our narrative. We don't control or have an impact on other people's perceptions of us. We let the media do it for us. We let the revisionist history do it for us. We have to expose people to us and each other in order to make those changes. So I have no problem with her sitting with him in the ballpark.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, because when I was on social media and, you know, one of my friends was going back and forth. So I said, let me get this straight. So when Michelle and Barack Obama are chilling with them, laughing, whatever, you cool with that, right? Well, that's different. I said, how's it different? How's it different? I said, because they don't have to chill with them and laugh. That was a choice. So now, if I all of a sudden saw Obama, Michelle, Melania, and Donald after the fact, then I'd be like, wait a minute. Oh, you're a bigger person than me, because ain't no way in hell, much as you don't dog me, that we're going to be buddy-buddy and chilling and smile. And I don't think that was the case with Bush. Now, I didn't always agree with Bush's policies.
Are you senior or junior?
Both of them. Because I served under both of them, but they respected the office much better than what is being respected now. That's all my only thing with that. So let's go on to another topic. What do you think I'm going to pick this time?
Oh, boy.
No. What?
Play to pay. Are you familiar with the California case where the athletes are going to be compensated for their likeness or their images in California?
I don't have a problem with that. Otherwise, to me,
Reggie?
it seemed like they were being pimped out.
But it's never going to happen, because if you come to me and say, I got to pay you for using your image, I'm going to stop using your image.
No, what I'm saying is that their image is already being used.
Yeah, but one thing, going forward, they're not going to use them. Okay, but it's good.
They have no choice. What are they going to use them? Believe me, they're going to use their image. They're going to use their image.
Character. This is the thing. College.
They use their numbers. Believe me, I'm just telling you.
They don't have to use nothing. Division one.
They won't sell nothing.
Division one is big money. And the last thing these schools want to do is give that money to black athletes. Okay. And they should be giving those guys a stipend across the country. It shouldn't be California doing it. Those guys deserve something. When you got coaches out here making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, $12 million a year, them guys deserve something. Okay, because that's the only reason these coaches are getting that kind of money. So they should come up with something to pay these guys per game for what they do. Okay, you know, because these guys, this college, you look at the University of Tennessee, that stadium seats almost 110,000 people. Come on now, get them guys some money for playing.
Well, for me, I think the pay for play is reasonable, only because, let's say, for instance, you are someone who's an art student who on an art scholarship, right? You can go sell your paintings and make money for that right off the bat. Anybody who's on a scholarship can go out there and get another job or sell anything which related. Like, if you're a musician, if you get a gig, guess what? They can pay you for your talents, and you already got a full ride. What I'm saying with athletes is that we know it's $1 billion industry, and it's supposed to be nonprofit. I don't see how, where most coaches, matter of fact, most Division I coaches in the big programs make more than the POTUS, the governor, any elected official, that I can tell you. But it's all about money. How much money are they drawing into the school? So, last topic, well, actually, second to last topic.
Oh boy.
Second to last topic. Okay.
Why is one eyebrow thinner than the other? I don't know. Your guess
Who
is
let
as good as
Derek-
mine.
Whose choice was it to let Derek lead tonight?
Is
Well, let me finish. And I think we may already talked about this, but I heard it in one of the sermons that a good friend of mine was preaching, and he had talked about the preacher who preaches solely for money.
Oh, shit.
Meaning that when they say it's time to give, it's almost like they try to make you feel bad if you don't give.
Well, so why is it different from anyone with any other church throughout the country?
No, but
And
what
I'm
he's
not
saying
getting-
is
I'm
that
not-
it
you know, I don't want to get bad emails,
what
so-
he's saying it shouldn't be like that. You should give as you give.
But we know that.
You should give as you. Yeah, but you go to some churches
But wait a
and they give
minute.
you about a 10-minute spiel
But
of why you should give, whether it's for the building fund. See, my key question, and this is what I have, and it may be one of the stupid ones. I want to know, why is there a building fund for 15, 20 years? And I don't see no
everybody
building.
wants to know that. Shit, I'm 58, 59 years old. Shit, and I still don't understand why there's a building fund and they replaced the doorknob. So why is
Reggie?
Some churches, okay, let me tell you
some
something.
churches do? I'm sorry, Reggie, because I'm not gonna say all churches, because I'm not gonna say that.
That's right. It took us.
I didn't say churches. I didn't say all churches.
We
Some
built
churches.
a new building for almost $2 million, and we saved most of the money ourselves over 20 years. And it took us 20 years to save about $1.5 million. We only financed $500,000. So in some instances, you do take time. Okay. Now this is the whole problem. I don't care if a preacher gets up there every Sunday and tell you to give. If you crazy enough to give, then that's your problem. Okay. Common sense should tell you
You
if
got
you
some bills to pay.
give and when not to give. Okay. So you can't blame the preacher for asking for the money. You blame yourself for giving it. Okay. If you know you got your electric bill on Monday morning and the preacher say give an extra $100, you pull that $100 from the electric bill and give it to the church, that's your problem. Okay. Common sense. Okay. It's just common sense.
Like my mama would say, that's your little red wagon.
That's right. And some preachers are in it. Some preachers are in it for the money. Okay.
I think Derek did that just to hype us up because he knows how we'll
Because I'm coming to the last topic. Which it's a little, it kind of burned me up, which you don't see too often. Kind of pissed me off, really. So it dealt with this football player from Penn State, who there was I guess some boosters or alumni, whatever, that basically criticized his dreadlocks, and for the most part, just shamed him. I mean, literally shamed him. They wrote a letter and they shamed him. And this is what I say to anyone that supports that letter. F you. But what I also say
if
is,
you don't do it, say it right.
Collectively, fuck you.
But what pissed me off is that where was this outcry when all these when Sandusky and all the other stuff and alumni didn't go anywhere? So now you're gonna it kind of burns me up, because you have people that want to attack a black man's culture, what he looks like. You want to do very little, and I'm not Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, so I'm not here to offend Catholics. But with all the shit that is going on with these priests and these sexual abusers, you should be livid.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Wait. What was it about that Penn State incident that is so different from what is going on across this nation every day? We've got children in elementary schools who wear dreads and twists, afros, and they're bullied. They're pinned down and their hair is cut. What made the Penn State story so different from what we witness every day?
Well, I think it was the content of the letter. And let me see if I can bring it up real quick.
Well, basically, the content of the letter was praising him in one sense and criticizing him in another sense.
Did they criticize the guys with the mohawk?
Then the alumni have come out against this guy, okay? Because they say he's from the class of 66 or 67. So his ideas and thoughts are, you know, he came along a time at Penn State when they didn't have any black players, okay? And he was wrong. I don't care if their dreadlocks are hanging down to the feet. You know, what the problem is I have is you use these black players for 4 years, okay? You use them, you go to the games, you're happy that they're doing this. And even the guy in the letter said he appreciates the guys' play, okay? You know, you sit there and you Google and gaga over everything these African-American players do, but at the same time, you're a racist. And you only accept them because they can play the sport for you and make your school look good, okay? That's why I say I think some of these players should just go to HBCUs, okay?
Exactly.
You know, that's what they should do, okay? Because a lot of these alumni do not appreciate these guys. Now, you really think a lot of alumni down in Alabama, okay, or Mississippi really love these guys? Let one of those guys go out there and get in some trouble with one of their daughters. They're ready to hang them and put them off the team. So, you know, but you have a choice of where you want to go to school at because it's going to get you into the NFL, okay? But for me, it's just another form of slavery for a lot of these guys because the schools are using them, okay, to effectively get what they want. Big money, big money, big money.
I agree.
Now, question.
Give you a high five, Reg.
A question. A vast majority of those players who go there don't necessarily go to the NFL.
Some of them ain't graduate.
Right.
All right. But the thing, that's something that the NCAA takes up when it comes to compliance. I'm speaking from a former student athlete. I know that the NCAA will penalize schools when they don't have students who do not graduate, due to whatever, but they don't take into account the sports. That's a little bit different. When I look at myself, I had dreams and goals to go to the Olympics. Didn't happen, of course, but I was afforded a free education. So when you look at the percentage of college football players and basketball that make it to the next level, a piece of what they're getting, are they being used, or you use in essence, you're using one another. You're using the school to get your education. The school is using you to make money, which brings us back to the other thing of whether or not these students should be compensated. You know, when you can have I know Nick Saban makes somewhere between $10 and $11 million, but he's brought the school in probably well over 300 million or maybe 400 million in a span of maybe 2 to 3 years. So you do the math. You know, schools, unfortunately, they're not going to get a lot of money from the state, especially athletics. Most athletics has to be driven by boosters and sports and all the other stuff, TV contracts and all the other stuff that's going on. And I agree with you, Reggie. It's like, to some degree, there's the same slave mentality where, you know what, we want you to come here and play and do what you have to do for us and make us money and bye. And you do have that mindset with some of the teams. I don't think Penn State is that particular team, but there are some teams that, unfortunately, that deal in that particular way. And those are the ones that, need to be targeted. Believe me, all HBCUs aren't great when it comes to that, but I think they're better as far as looking out for the black male or black female.
You were talking about these schools having to get money to run the athletic departments. HBCUs don't get a daggone thing from no one, okay? They have to go out and embarrass themselves on 3 Saturdays out of the football season by playing a white university to earn enough money to fulfill the requirements of funding the athletic departments, okay? All right, and that really pisses me off when I sit there and look at a Morgan State getting beat 72-3 by a powerhouse like Maryland or Ohio State or somebody like that. It shouldn't even have to be that way, okay? The NCAA has to figure out some way to get these athletic departments filled monetarily, okay? Because like I said, the good guys are always going to go to these top schools, okay? and the HBCUs aren't going to get the best of the best, okay? And they can't compete, but they have to compete for money. And that's not right.
Well, money, remember, money is gathered in a variety of different ways. TV contracts, but the biggest thing is attendance. Because if you don't have people filling the seats, how can you say, hey, put us on TV for 10, 15 people?
But HBCUs aren't even on TV. They're on TV on ESPN.
Yeah, they are.
Okay?
They're on TV.
They're on ESPN3.
They're on TV. A couple channels.
Hang on
there. I'm an alumni of a HBCU. I know the struggle that North Central has as far as filling up the athletic coffers, okay? ESPN3 ain't even giving these guys $1 million to split up between two teams when they go on TV, okay? I looked at FS1 last Saturday, Elizabeth City, and one other school, and Fayetteville State was playing. How much money you think they got all together? They might have got $50,000 a piece for playing that game. There's too many disparities between HBCUs and the large Division I schools. Okay.
Yeah, but you have to also look. You have to look at the key thing. You have to look at stadium and advertisers. Now, for instance, if I have a school, like for instance, Towson they don't get on there. They only can fill 10,000 seats. So why would I put you on ABC, primetime, and have Coca-Cola and all them pay all that money for people that in 10,000 seats? That's not going to happen.
Nobody's saying Coca-Cola got to fill up and be a sponsor. We're just saying that somehow the playing field's got to be leveled.
It's based on advertising
for the HBCUs to be able to make it. Because if the HBCUs don't go out and play Maryland,
hang on, Derek. Hang on.
If HBCUs don't go out and play Maryland or Penn State or some of these other schools, they're going to literally have to close down their athletic departments. And that's why
they can work $400,000.
Let me tell you something, Derek. At Florida and FAMU, when they come up here, those students cannot ride a plane to get up here because the schools can't afford it. They got to take a 12-hour bus trip from Tallahassee to come play Howard University. Okay? That's wrong.
But the schools pay for that. The schools pay for that.
Yeah, bus ride.
When I used to coach junior college basketball. My budget did not come from the JUCO. It came from my school. I had to pay for meals. Well, I didn't have to pay for it, but the school had to pay for that. NCAA doesn't kick that in. They don't pay for that. So you can't force the NCAA to pay for flights to another school. That's within the school's budget. That's why a lot of the schools don't have a lot of sports, because they try to consolidate. Remember, and FAMU, they get scholarships too. Those scholarships are paid by a portion of NCAA, and also the school has to pick up a portion of that. But you also have boosters. You have to fill up the seats. Because think about it. Am I going to ask for $1 million every year if I'm not even putting 1 million people in the seats over a course of 10 years? It's business. And unfortunately, football, sports, whatever, it is a business. It is a business. It'd be very difficult for me to justify an increase in my scholarship. I had maybe enough money for 5 scholarships.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you a question, because I'm trying to understand here. So what you're saying, Derek, is that anything that comes, anything that is away from federal funding that these schools need that are not historical Black colleges, Black universities, anything that is aside from that federal funding, that comes out of the pockets of who? The staff, the parents, the whomever.
When you talk about athletics, I'm saying you talking about athletics.
Huh?
A vast majority of athletics is not federally funded. That is through.
But do they not get? Hold on. And this is a question because I'm trying to understand. So do they not get some sort of federal dollars?
They get it for it. Well, depends if they're private, or public. If you're public, remember your state
federal dollars.
Not a large portion. A large portion of your money comes from the state. The federal will kick in. Remember, they're kicking in through grants, through your Pell Grant, which has unfortunately been significantly reduced. And they're also kicking maybe for some capital projects. But the state still has to have matching funds in order to do that. You have to have boosters. I'm saying the school still has to do their part. It's unfortunate, but and don't get me wrong, the states traditionally have not funded the schools fairly.
I was
I know
going to
that.
ask that because there's also misappropriation.
Yeah, well, not misappropriation, but I would just say it has not been fair.
What would you call it?
It hasn't been fair. Misappropriation means that you did something probably illegal.
It's like,
it's not illegal to do what they did. It's unethical, but it's not illegal.
Yeah.
My thing when dealing with funds, HBCUs have historically not been funded by the states at the same rate and same level as some of the white institutions, as they should be. They should be funded equally. And that's something, a statement. I know Maryland is doing a better job than some.
They're not. No, they're not. Maryland fighting the whole thing.
In some states, they're doing better.
They're not Maryland.
And they're doing that. And in some states, they are doing better. Some southern states are not taking
better in North Carolina.
But what you have to understand is with certain schools, they have a large, like Grambling. Grambling has a large alumni following. They're going to be on NBC every year. Every year they're going to be on NBC because they're sponsored by United States Army or one of the armed forces because they sponsor that game. So it's one of those things where it could get better. I wish I had the magic wand, but I don't. But, in order to, I guess, bring about some equality amongst all schools, it's a challenge. That's what I say. It's a challenge.
All right, then. Well.
I like to see Reggie get a little emotional.
You got him heated tonight.
I'm a proud HBCU alum, and we sitting here in Maryland and fighting with Hogan to try to get more money for the HBCUs in the state of Maryland. He doesn't want to give us the whole pot. He wants to give us $2 out of 10, okay? And that teased me off, okay?
How is that okay?
I didn't say it was okay. It's not okay. Who said it was okay?
No, I'm just saying, how is that? Well, no, it's not okay, but how is that fair?
It isn't. I said it isn't. And unfortunately, I don't know if there's an easy fix. I don't know. I don't have a budget in front of me. So I don't know if it's doable or if it's not doable, but it's not right. I would say, this is what I would say to solve it. Decrease some of the money from the historically white schools and increase the money for the black.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
Thank you.
But
that ain't gonna happen.
But for those delegates and Maryland State delegation that may be listening, hey, try for a couple of years. I'm saying they froze tuition for a couple of years. So why can't they go ahead and say, you know what, we're gonna decrease your amount for a couple of years so maybe the HBCUs can catch up a little bit.
All righty then. It's time to close it out.
You right about that.
Oh my goodness. Well, we got Reggie all riled up.
Mm-hmm. You didn't curse though.
Riled up.
Yep. Yeah, but thank you for letting me pick the topics.
It'll never happen again.
And I just want to give my shout outs. What's up, Darrell, Joe, Keisha? We got Travis, Jonathan Lee, Brother Lee. Who else we got? Christopher Willis, Michelle. Who else? I got a lot of people on here. Vincent, Chris Gibbons, and Kevin Kimmel. Did I miss somebody? Veronica. Okay, I'm done.
Shit.
Good night, sis. And Jose, I see you creeping.
Oh my God.
I see your light. Your energy light came on. I don't see no light now. I think just went dim.
What the hell is he doing?
Like her light. It's like it was bright and then just went.
You know what? He is so easily distracted.
Shiny red ball. Shiny red ball.
Reel him in sometimes.
I have AD. I do have attention deficit. I really do.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've been told.
Don't listen to them.
Anyway, so You've been tuned in to Real World News TV with Reggie Kearney, Cherry Ann Tappan, and of course, Derek Terry. I'm glad that you had joined us tonight, and I'm looking forward to you coming on back every Tuesday night. The show always begins at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. So you just got to make sure that you follow them on Facebook under Real World News TV. Also, make sure that you head on over to our website at hottopicstalkradio.com. You can catch up on any of the past shows, as well as visit the HTTR Network store, purchase your sweatshirts, your t-shirts, and cups, and everything. Cherry Ann Tappan is our walking store. So you might be able to purchase it from her. Anyway.
My cup is empty. It's time to go.
So the next time that we come on, I really do want to highlight, these people here on Real World News TV are fantastic people. Not only do they come here every week, every Tuesday night to deliver you some of the hottest political news and give them their commentary, but also you are surrounded by writers, or I should say I'm surrounded by writers. I'm the only one that doesn't have a book.
Yet.
Everybody's got a darn book out. Reggie has a magazine. Derek has a book. Cherry has a book. Reggie has a book. I know. I'm the only one that does not have a book.
I'm in the process of publishing. I will flash mine once it's printed.
OMG.
But do keep an eye out for Inner Dialogue, a book of poetry, hopefully before the end of the new year.
So what I want you to do is I want you to head on over to their individual Facebook pages, and I want you to get in tune to what they are doing and support them individually, not just here on the network, but support them individually for the body of work that they do produce, because they always have great things to say, and I want you to support them in their efforts. So with that being said, lastly, come on back tomorrow night, Wednesday night, with Hot Topics Talk Radio with me, Yvonne Baker, and Mr. Chris Smith. Tomorrow night, we got a hot show lined up for you. We're asking the question, you let him move in? That's when we're coming back with Hot Topics tomorrow night. The show always starts at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Central, and 11 o'clock on the East Coast. Make sure that you always follow us by going to the individual Facebook pages, as well as making sure that you head on over to our website. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And we thank you once again for your continued support and tuning in every week. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow night, Wednesday, with Hot Topics Talk Radio. Good night.
Good night. Peace.
All right. Bye. Thank you again for tuning in to Real World News TV with Cherry Ann Tappan, Reggie Kearney, and Mr. Derek Terry. As always, they are here every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 on the East Coast. Make sure that you do head on over to our website and purchase your HTTR network gear. Go to hottopicstalkradio.com. Thanks again. We love you. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Good night.